Hello everyone, my name's The Right and Spartan, and welcome to Halo Spotlight. We've got a Q&A for you today, and we're joined by two special guests. We've got Rosy Muscovy and Connor Dawn. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hey,
No
thanks
problem.
for having us.
You're very welcome. Or I'll say podcast, it's more of a Q&A, but with Q&As comes lots of questions, and of course, this one is no exception. We're going to be talking about Halo Combat Revolved today, which is a mod that you're both involved in. So I'll just jump right in and ask if you could give us a little bit of background on what experience you both have making mods, or what mods you've both worked on in the past, if any.
Well, have you? I don't know. Have you done any, Rosie, outside of this?
I've made a few tiny mods for games that have not been Halo, such as Darkest Dungeon and like Crypt of the Necrodancer, just for my own personal pleasure, but that's really about it. This is my first venture into really tackling Halo modding.
Exciting stuff.
I've made some Halo mods. I've made back in 2019. I made Rain World, and then and I didn't really plan on doing much more. I was just kind of like, I'll kind of dip, and then it got featured on the mod blog thing. It's not there anymore though. I don't know what happened to it. And then I made Night World, then Snow World, then Rainy Night World, and so on and so forth, and snow. And then now we're here, and we're at Combat Revolved. It's
Yeah, you need to put World on the end so that it fits the pattern.
Oh yeah, Combat
There you
Revolved
go.
World, yeah. Also regular World. I made that at April Fools. It's basically it's like Night World and Rain World, but without any of the rain or night.
Right. Okay.
It's
just HD Forge World.
Yeah, I've yet to rename it, but I'll get around to it eventually.
Okay, well that's cool. It's interesting that you've both got quite different experiences in terms of mod making. Then, obviously, Halo Combat Revolved is quite an ambitious project. What was the inspiration and reasoning behind wanting to create Halo Combat Revolved?
Well, my inspiration, I guess I would say, was playing through all the games once again on the Master Chief Collection for PC, and just kind of marveling at how different each game really is from each other in terms of mechanics and like presentation. Another big inspiration was watching the channel EBR, who does these videos on the evolution of like various Covenant species throughout the Halo games.
Yeah.
And he documents a lot of how they behave differently between each game and look so different. And something I thought was, what if I made my own mod to try and bring each of the games as close to one another as possible? And that's really kind of where it started. At first, it kind of started as a personal project, but as Connor came along, because he liked what I was doing, it became more of a official mod to try and please everyone.
That's a bit very ambitious to try and please everyone.
It's it's kind of like if you're going to try and make something like this, I feel like it's always good to have two minds on board. So to kind of keep you right, because if you're doing a mod on your own, it's kind of just like you can always ask other people for opinions, but they can say, oh, I don't like this, and you could kind of go, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. But when you're working with someone who's also doing the mod with you, both of your opinions have the kind of same weight and importance. So me and Rosie have never fought over anything, but we have sometimes had kind of conflicts on what should happen, and I feel like it's good because it's good to kind of have a balance and a weight to both things. At least gameplay wise, I don't really do any of the game. I just do all the visual stuff. Rosie does all the gameplay and the I guess you'd say the environmental storytelling that I've tried dabbling in as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely you both make a good point. It's definitely good to have someone else to work with to keep you grounded. And sometimes when you're working on your own ideas can become a bit too much as well. Like they can kind of get ahead of themselves. So I find working with someone else is always a good way to kind of be realistic with timescales and stuff as well.
It can also it's also sometimes when you are working on your own, it kind of goes the other way. Where I was saying how when you're working on your own, you can become very fond of your own ideas. Sometimes you're not fond of your own ideas. You can begin to doubt yourself too much. But then it's good to have someone who can kind of say, no, it's good. It's, this isn't a bad thing, or vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of support always goes a long way, especially when you're working on like a mod or anything creative. It's hard to gauge kind of if it's going the way you want it to, and if it's bad because you're just seeing it as such, or whether it's actually bad and stuff like that. I know that feeling. I've dabbled in games design over the years, so I can appreciate that feeling of needing someone else there.
Yeah, it's always good to have backup.
Well, it's cool that you've both come together and you are both supporting each other on this project as well. It's really like always definitely nice to have people working together in the community, especially with different kind of experiences and different kind of job roles to do, so to speak. Obviously the mod is going to be changing. Halo Combat Evolved. That's the game that the mod is for, right? So what would you both say are going to be some of the most noticeable changes that the mod's going to bring to Halo Combat Evolved?
Oh boy, I feel like we've practically changed everything, at least a little bit at this point. But I suppose if I had to just pick like 3 that were changed the most or that will be most noticeable, I would say 1, the visuals. Connor did a beautiful job of touching up every single level.
Thank you.
To make the level really feel like it has its own identity. For instance, he took the second mission, really made it feel like it's sunrise. Guilty Spark, he really made it dark and made the interior a bit more of that flood fog that we see on, Quarantine Zone, for instance, or Sacred Icon, I should say, and just so on and so forth. Second change, I'd say, would be enemy behavior and variety. For those who are well acquainted with CE versus the other games, there's just elite minor, elite major, and basically just minor and major rank for every one of the Covenant. But what I've done is I've done a lot more enemy types. So now we have elite ultras, we have grunt ultras, grunt heavies, jackals with needlers, jackals with plasma rifles, and so on and so forth. Just trying to really bring in and incorporate those ranks from Halo 2 and other Halo games and make them feel like they have a natural place in CE. And I think it turned out really well.
Definitely.
And the final and probably the most noticeable change for everyone who's like memorized CE like inch by inch at this point, because I know that was me for a while, would be the encounters. I've personally gone through and evaluated every single encounter on every single mission and changed it in some capacity, whether it's like removing enemies, adding more enemies, changing what enemies you'll find there. So it's safe to say that like people who are like kind of tired of playing CE because they just know everything that awaits them behind every corner, they'll definitely have something to look forward to, in that it'll be a completely different layout of the enemies, but still trying to keep that experience of the game close to what it was in the original. So it's not like I just changed an entire corridor to be nothing but hunters or something.
That would definitely be a challenge, though. But yeah, definitely staying close to the feeling of Halo Combat Evolved is very important with mods.
That's one of those things that me and Rosy both agree on when we're working on these mods, is that everything should always retain. It's kind of like, for instance, if you like Halo 3 or if you like Halo Reach, there's reasons why you like those games. So when you make a mod to try and enhance these games, then I think it's very important that you try and at least retain or enhance the things that make you love the game initially, rather than change them. Because if you change them, then you're risking yourself no longer liking it, or kind of going too far in some areas.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I completely get that. It's where do you draw the line between kind of making a mod and it being a Halo Combat Evolved mod, or it just being a completely different game? I completely get that. So there's definitely feelings and situations that need to be retained throughout mods to
Well,
keep that.
with Rosy, he always has some kind of reasoning behind encounters sometimes. Like, it's not just, like you said, it's not just, oh yeah, I'm gonna put hunters here. It's like, okay, this environment, like, one of my favorite things about the mod is that, of course, it takes place on Installation 4, and there are a lot more Covenant on Installation 4 than there are humans. So a vast majority of the flood that you will encounter throughout the game is composed of more flood, no, elite flood than human flood, because naturally there are more, there are more Covenant in the lore on Installation 04 than, there's like lots of stuff in the mod where there's just kind of little subtle bits of kind of logic and stuff that's been kind of clicked into place to be responsible for the way things are.
Mhm. Yeah, that was another minor thing for me going in through a lot of these encounters. Tried to do a lot of was give either like some sort of instance of environmental storytelling or pay attention to something else that's brought up in the game, such as Connor said, Coveys are mentioned as outnumbering humans 12-1. So in the flood, they elite forms outnumber human forms at a ratio of more or less 12-1.
Yeah.
Similarly, many instances of environmental storytelling can be thrown throughout the levels, such as on the Silent Cartographer. Not to spoil one of these, but the pelican that comes in and brings you that rocket launcher crashes in on the beach. But what I've done is I went ahead and put a Banshee right next to that pelican, and its pilot can be found just chilling on the beach, looking out at the ocean. So now you have a Banshee on a level that on a level that previously didn't have one. So that's fun. But I also gave it a sensible excuse to be there by having that Banshee be the one that shot down that pelican.
Yeah, definitely. Adding those little bits of storytelling, I suppose, is one of the best things about mods. Really, is you're looking at a game that has already been released and already has stuff in place, and then you can kind of just improve on that and add a little bit extra. That's the joy of mods.
There is another area where something like that has happened, where it's one of my favorites, and it's such a small thing, but it's I love it. It's brilliant. It's when I think it's 2 betrayals. When you go up and you've got to kind of take out one of the shield generators with your armor, and you leave the Banshee outside, right? And you go in, and in the normal game, when you come back out, there's another Banshee there, like a new Banshee, just in case the player lost their original Banshee. It's just there magically. But what Rosy did was, when you're going back out, there is actually an elite approaching you, and the idea is that that Banshee was flown up there by that elite, so it makes sense as to why it's there now.
Like those little bits, definitely. You think back to the actual game, and you're like, this should have been there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't play original CE anymore.
I know, me neither.
Yeah,
we
like,
ruined it for ourselves.
Yeah, and it's honestly, the amount of stuff that's going on because of like all the thought put into it is just, not to toot our own horns here, but it's just great fun. One of my absolute favorite things as well that Rosy has done has got to be the dialogue between certain enemies. Like, for example, the elites will they're a lot more vocal. They're a lot more likely to speak now, and when you're in combat with them, they will speak in their own language. But when you hide and they can't find you, they will speak in English. They will utter things like I think one of them's like "Come on, tough guy" and all that. Like it's
Yeah,
that's
it's a very happy unintended consequence because what it was, it's leftover lines from the older builds when the CE elites had Sergeant Johnson's lines that were just put through a filter.
Right.
And for whatever reason, they kept those in. So now they use that to taunt you whenever you're not visible. They'll say stuff like, "Come on, tough guy."
it's brilliant.
I also made enemies such as jackals be a lot more vocal. They got a lot more to say now too.
Mhm.
Of course, they don't speak English either.
Yeah, they never really
Thankfully.
said much anyway, though, jackals. They were always the quiet type.
Mhm.
I think the only game they spoke in was it Halo 5? No? Halo 4?
I know they spoke English in Halo 5, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the time it's just noises that they make, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's always been a bit jarring, I suppose, going from Halo CE to Halo 2 as well, is you go from all the enemies going what, and like not really speaking any English to suddenly all of them speak English.
Yeah.
So having that mix in the mod would, be definitely a better bridge between games as well.
Well,
For
that's
certain.
that's one of like our main kind of mission objectives is to bridge that gap and make that, when we eventually get round to making a Combat Revolved 2 for Halo 2, the kind of goal is to make that going from CE to 2, the leap not being that much jarring, in terms of how gameplay visuals and so on. So yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah. If I could describe it the way I've told other people is we're trying to make all the games feel as homogeneous as possible in a good way. We're trying to make it so that if you were to sit down and marathon all these games with these mods installed, the amount of gameplay whiplash you would feel would be minimal.
It's definitely something the Halo games need, because Halo's weird. Every single Halo game is so different than the last, and
Exactly.
you don't really realize until you play them back to back, or like on MCC if you just put all the games on and then play like a social playlist, and then you go from CE to like Halo 3 or like Halo 2 to Halo 4, and you're just like, wow, these games just couldn't be further apart. But yeah, no, obviously you've both touched on some parts that were your favourite and are your favourite currently. But going on to the opposite side of things with challenges, what's the biggest challenge that each of you has faced so far with making this mod?
Limitations.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say up to this point, all we've been working with has been assembly. And for those who might know, all two of you out there, the CEA branch of assembly has no ability to import tags, to duplicate tags, or even add new blocks to existing tags. And what that basically means is we are stuck with exactly what the developers have on the map already. So what we've had to do is a lot of clever workarounds. For instance, like I would take, say, there's like, for those who don't know, there's two variants of Hunter in CE. One's a Hunter and one's a Hunter Major. They're identical, but one has more health. What I did was I just took the Hunter Major and said, okay, you're not a Hunter Major anymore. You're an Elite Ultra. And basically, that's what I'd have to do. I couldn't just create my own Elite Ultra from existing tags. I had to basically repurpose what tags I had. But going forward now, now that the MCC was updated to support CE maps, is I can do everything that I was wanting to do before. So now I can make several different elite ranks and have them all exist within the same map without any sort of issue or limitation. So I'm definitely very excited going forward. But I'm sure that people who play this first build that we're going to be releasing is a lot more limited. For instance, elites only ever really use plasma rifles unless they're like a special story-related elite, such as the shipmaster who uses a needler, or spec ops commanders who will use like a plasma pistol or energy sword. But yeah.
Sweet. Well, I'm glad that the mod is now a bit easier to develop for now that restriction's kind of been lifted. Anyways, obviously it's probably going to be the second or whatever third whatever build that you release to the public to test.
I'd
That's
love
gonna go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say we joked about that really old video where it's like, so you've completed the Halo CE demo.
Yeah.
I would love if we could somehow get a so you've completed Combat Revolved, and it's like, we'll see you in Combat Revolved 2.0, like, which is the one where we could just do anything, just go balls to the wall with it.
I think it's just funny to like have them complete an 8-hour game experience and then just be like, so you completed the demo.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Time to do it again.
Yeah, you just the only difficulty is normal, and then it just makes you go to like mythic after completing.
Yeah.
That's another thing, is the difficulty of the mod. I'd say it's definitely more difficult than regular CE, but it's never unfair. It's which, if anybody's wondering how to do that, you basically just look at Halo 2 and you just do the opposite of that.
Yeah. Something I did, not to go off on a tangent here, but balancing the difficulties, basically just took Legendary and said, okay, instead of giving the enemies like an 80% damage buff like they do in CE, I'm just going to make enemies and player do 1-to-1 damage with each other. So if you deal 15 damage with the plasma pistol, so do the enemies. The only difference is how they handle their guns, in terms of them melting you versus you melting them.
Yeah.
But then with like each difficulty down, decrease the damage by like 15 or 25%. So that way, instead of what CE and the other Halo games do, where enemies just become like a lot stupider with how they use their guns between each difficulty, instead enemies will be just as smart as they are on Legendary, but they'll just do less damage to you. So that way you can still feel like a badass at the end of the day. It's just maybe you don't get melted quite as fast as you would on Legendary.
Yeah, and it's a very hard thing to try and look into and to edit, is difficulties in games. It's such a particular thing that you can't just change one aspect if you're trying to make it easier, because it affects everything else, right? One thing I always laugh about when I stream Halo 5 quite a lot, Mythic Warzone Firefight, is just how ridiculously accurate the enemies are with like automatic weapons at a long range. Like, they can use a plasma repeater and it's like a laser. And it's like, why can't I pick up a plasma repeater, or like not plasma repeater,
Storm rifle.
Storm rifle, that's the one. Like, why can't I pick this up and use it like a sniper like they do? It is one of those things that's jarring when the enemies are able to do stuff that the player's not. So it's cool that you've kind of found a workaround that still makes the player feel on fair terms at higher difficulties.
See, that's another thing where I think I was bummed out to learn, is that the AI and the games a lot of the time cannot do things to the same extent that the player can. Like, for instance, they're not as accurate, or their projectiles move slower than the players do. And I'm like, oh, that's a bit rubbish, isn't it? Like, what? And something that Rosy has done is he has made the Marines. I think before, the Marines fired not as fast as the player could, but now they do, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if we changed that, or...
Yeah, for whatever reason, Bungie had both Marines and the Flood shoot the assault rifle at 600 rounds per minute, when the player shoots it at 900 rounds per minute. So, yeah, I just beefed it up for everyone else so that, again, they're on the same terms of view. And it makes
just makes
AR
it feel
flood
more.
really scary.
Yeah, I'm
Which is
sure it
good.
does. It makes it feel just more realistic as well, though. Like if
yeah.
all the guns are consistent throughout, no matter who's using them, they just work the same. It's more believable to play. I know we're talking about sci-fi game, but like consistency is a very important thing in any game. Obviously, we've already touched on the consistency with like the lore and the flood being more elite than humans. So I think it's just as important to have the consistency there with weapons. Absolutely.
Now that you mention consistency with the lore, I should also mention that something that we're doing as well is trying to fit the events that happen in the Flood book, which I guess is officially canon. I don't really pay attention to the books personally, but trying to fit as much of that into the game as possible as well.
Yeah.
So, for instance, on Pillar of Autumn, we added Zuka Zamami, which is that black elite who has that basically like comedy adventure where he's trying to kill the chief. And like I added a dead crewman to the hallway where you get the pistol from Captain Keyes. Because in the vanilla game, he just gives you this pistol with ammo in it, even though he says there isn't. But now it actually starts empty, but you pick up ammo from the dead end sign, as the book says. And just so on and so forth. Just trying to, whenever Newland is weird and just goes into bizarrely high detail about what the chief is doing, I pay attention and adapt that change as much as possible into the game.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because one thing that obviously that CE was a bit like known for was being slightly different than what the books were like for those hardcore lore fans. I can't claim to be one myself. I do have the books, but I'm not much of a reader, I'm going to be honest.
Sure. You're a writer, not a reader.
Yeah, exactly. But I know for a lot of those hardcore lore fans, it was something that was kind of a bit jarring after reading Fair Strike and the Flood.
There's a lot of good stuff in the books. I've just recently read Fall of Reach for the first time, and it's, they always say, oh, the books are better than the games or the movies, but genuinely, I much prefer the book Fall of Reach to the game Halo Reach, in terms of just, there's just more there.
I feel like that's quite a common thing among Halo fans, though, because Halo Reach still gets a lot of flack even now, like 11 years on, for how it kind of messed with the canon and
it retconned a lot. There's a thing that happens in the Flood as well. Like in the Fall of Reach, there's these characters that are on the Pillar of Autumn, and they're the bridge crew, and then they're also in the Flood, but they're just not in the game. They're not in, these unique characters. Like I think there's like something we've been looking into doing for the 2.0 version is taking some of these kind of memorable unique characters from the book and putting them into the game just as NPCs. So one of them that we're working on right now is, I think it's Tactician Officer Aki Hakoa, and she's this lassie who's very, very stern, very, she's kind of Captain Key's kind of right-hand man, and like we said, we try to keep consistent with art style as possible, and recently we managed to get like a model made for that, because there are no female Marines or crewmen. And
shout outs to Markel.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. And we got one of our friends, Marco, and Eclair did the body for it.
Shout outs to Eclair as well.
Yeah,
sorry, Eclair, I didn't mean to forget you.
I think what we did was we took the female pilot from the what's it called? I know the name of the actual name of the pod, but we'll just call it Escape Pod.
The escape pods from the cutscene.
Yeah, there's a woman in that, and we took her body and we put the crewman body texture on that, and then we got our friend Markel to put a female face on it and still have it look like it belongs in the game, and that's something we're just going to have her on the bridge. She won't speak. We don't think she won't say anything.
Yeah,
just
because
leave the other.
we don't have money to buy a voice actress's,
Yeah,
assistance.
but we might see if we can get some like heart lines or whatever from them. But yeah, just stuff like that. It's kind of making it like you should be able to read the book and then open up the game and go, oh, that's them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really
Similarly, on like Assault in the Control Room, Sergeant Johnson's no longer there because he's supposed to be with Captain Keyes on the Guilty Spark Swamp, for instance. So I replaced his encounter with Bicenti, a generic Marine, instead. And similarly, I changed his voice lines when they fly overhead and radio in for help to be Bicenti as well.
I'm getting hyped to play this. The more that I learn about it, like I'm just like can't wait. And it's really cool. You both mentioned about putting these characters in from the books and stuff, and substituting characters that should be there. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know how many kind of revolved mods you're both planning on making, but
I'm planning on doing all the games on MCC eventually, but
it'd be super cool if like we got to Reach and you guys did a Reach mod, and those characters that you just mentioned that were at the end of the Fall of Reach were, the same characters that are on the deck in the Halo Combat Revolved mod. That'd be like stuff like that would be super cool. Go on, Connor, sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, that's the thing with like Reach is a very unique beast to tackle because Reach the game sort of retcons the book, but I've heard that 343 did something recently to retcon the retcon to make both of them exist side by side, which is neat. But I have always liked that idea of our mod having its own sort of mod universe sort of thing, where things that are unique to our mods only that we introduce in Halo CE could crop up in Halo 2 as well, or Halo Reach. And I think Rosy once toyed with the idea of a unique type of plasma that only exists within the Revolved universe, if you will.
Not so much. I haven't really like toyed with the ideas of unique things to our mod, I don't think yet. Other than making like a green elite or whatever. But more so what I'm doing is like with each shade of plasma, like red, blue, green, they have unique properties that are going to be consistent between every game and between every type of gun. So like blue plasma is like more economical, like it lasts a lot longer in like the plasma rifle, for instance. Does better shield damage but less health. Meanwhile, red plasma is like overclocked mode. So like the brute plasma rifle is going to be a piece of crap that like overheats and misfires very often. In exchange, it does really good health damage. And just so on and so forth. Meanwhile, like green plasma does equal damage to shields and health. And whatnot.
Sounds super cool.
Yeah. I don't think we have necessarily anything that makes our mod universe unique yet. Maybe we will going forward. But because the idea has kind of been to make our mod as consistent with the existing universe as possible.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
See, you just remind me of something there, Rosie, we were talking about brute plasma rifle. But we're doing the 2.0 update now. And we can, inject textures and stuff. And one really neat thing that we just kind of had the idea of recently was, with the skins in the MCC for CE, they also updated the default skins to have much higher fidelity and cleaner textures, while they were still accurate to the original. So I'm currently working right now on getting those in-game. So when you use the AR in the 2.0 version of Combat Revolved, it won't be the crusty, regular texture AR that you see normally in CE. It'll be like the nice, clean version. And because you're saying about the brute plasma rifle there, I don't think we would ever do this, but if we ever wanted to add a brute plasma rifle anywhere in the mod, we could do that very easily because one of the skins is just a red plasma rifle, and it does look like a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
the brutal skin for multiplayer.
Yeah, we are spoiled by choice.
Oh yeah. That's you said you asked us what our challenges were, and we set our limitations, but at the same time the limitations were somewhat of a blessing because they kept us within the confines of what was possible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now that everything's possible, it's kind of like
What should be
overwhelming.
possible?
Yeah. It's like it's like graduating from a small sandbox where you have a limited amount of space and sand to work with to being on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we got everything at our disposal now.
Because you don't want to drift too far and do.
Don't want to go into the ocean, right? When you're still.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for taking my analogy.
We were
and
trying to
working with
get
it.
there.
Yeah, because there are. I'm not going to talk rubbish on everybody, but there are mods that do things simply because they can and not because they should. You know, they're like, "Oh, this would be cool. Let's do this," and
Yeah.
sometimes that can hamper things. It can kind of compromise things a bit
Right.
more so than improving them.
Yeah, it stops being kind of a Halo Combat Evolved mod and more just a Halo mod for Combat Evolved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah. It becomes let's have every gun and every enemy on every map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and obviously that kind of circles back around to one of the first points we made about it feeling faithful to the Combat Evolved experience, right?
Mhm.
So it's definitely important to stay grounded, definitely.
Your
Go
mod
ahead,
Your mod should always feel like the base game on steroids, in my
Oh
opinion.
yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
We'll put that in a quote and like put on a plaque somewhere.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. It's cool to hear kind of just how many ideas there are floating about and how the extended lore is playing a part in everything and just how the process has been. It's really cool to hear from someone who's never delved into mods before. Like I've never played any mods apart from I think I played Cursed Halo once and that was it.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear the challenges and stuff that come with making them. Obviously, it's a project that's still ongoing, but would you both kind of have an estimate on how long it's going to take to finish from start to finish?
Well, sorry, Rosie.
Yeah.
If you stand up, you take a look under your seat right now. There is a link. There is a link that will take you to the Nexus to download it. Right? I mean, I don't know. The joke I was trying to make there is by the
I got
time
the reference. By the
time this is out, it should be out.
Yeah, well,
pull a Sakurai and say like starting tonight or whatever.
Starting right now.
Yeah. Do those like Nintendo Direct things where it's the same day release.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also, with a free $10. I'm kidding. That's not happening.
Free
with every view this gets, you'll get 2 bonus copies.
Yeah.
No, it took us like maybe 6 months to make our mod. But it is done now. The first version, made purely with assembly, and is a lot more limited. But we'll be releasing that, or scrambling to play test it and then release it because it is done. As soon as we're done with this little session of ours, and then we'll continue working around the clock on our 2.0 version, which maybe will take like another, I don't know how long Connor needs, but I think maybe like a month or 2.
Yeah. See, we're with our new tools that we have. We have not only do we have more freedom, we have things like, for example, one of the changes I made was I made the needler pink in first person.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, this. Everybody loves that change. Yes, it glows in the dark. It's pink. And before on the assembly version, like the one that's out right now, I had to I had to go through each map painfully and edit every tag to the exact same values on every map. But
Yeah.
with the tools that we're using to make the 2.0 version, all I have to do is change it once, and then every map pulls from that change when we build it.
Yeah, basically anytime we changed a single number in our mod, we had to do it 10 different times for every single map. But now we only have to do it once, and then we just press the button that makes the maps again using that new edited version. And it's just so much more time efficient and less of a headache too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it's a lot more streamlined, the process.
Oh yes.
Which is great for getting updates out. So I'm sure everyone who's playing it and who will be playing the current version will be ecstatic to hear that. They will be getting the version 2 a lot sooner than what the version 1 took, I guess.
Yeah.
In regards to like where people would go then to find the first version, or to help with playtest and whatnot, or just general information regarding Halo Combat Revolved, where would people go?
Well, if you reach under your seat now, we have a Nexus page, which is very stylish as well, if I may say.
Connor made all the visual graphic stuff.
Oh, it's I don't mean to
really
moan
good.
hornets. Yeah, it's lovely. People
Don't
like
worry.
pictures.
Don't worry, I'll blow smoke up your ass so you don't have to seem egotistical.
Yes,
That's very good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's regarding updates, we don't really use Twitter much. I do, but not for like, oh, my mod's out.
I don't even have a Twitter.
Yeah, he doesn't even have Twitter, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, definitely a good thing.
I would say we're in a server that we post stuff to. Like, we have a channel there, and we kind of discuss development there, as well as ideas from people and things that we're doing and we're trying. We also use a
Are you talking still, Connor?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you cut out.
I think it cut out for us all then.
Okay. Yeah, basically we have a like a private version of Halo Mods Discord where like we all like there's a variety of projects there and very lovely people that I love. And that's where we mainly do our stuff. I can't promise that like everyone who's interested will be able to get in there and like look at it, but if you wanted to maybe like I don't know if this is purely just going to be like an audio thing that you upload, or if there will be any visual
a written
element.
version as well.
Okay.
But in terms of how the Q&As usually get posted, they're just straight up audio, but they are on YouTube. So, there's room to pop stuff in there if, there's any footage or anything you guys want to throw in.
All I was gonna go with that was if you wanted to put my Discord ID on there, people can DM me and ask me stuff, and I can like give them teasers or something if they're interested.
Yeah, sweet.
They wanted to give me feedback too.
We'll pop that in there and put it in the description as well. All the stuff that we've mentioned will be in the description for anyone who's listening.
All right.
So yeah.
And under your seat.
And under your seat as well. How it got there, we won't say. It's a secret.
Yeah, I can't tell you.
Okay, well, that pretty much sums up all the questions that I had. Is there anything that either of you want to add on to the end before I close up shop?
No, I feel like I got everything I wanted to say via those tangents we had.
All I want to say is, as cliche as it may be, I think we're just getting started.
God.
Wouldn't be a Halo Q&A without that at the end at some point.
Yeah.
That's it, Connor. Mod cancelled. Collab over. Too corny.
No.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like a project that's it's got a lot going for it, and it's got a lot yet still to come. So I look forward to seeing the progress.
Thank you.
Mods. And hopefully everyone who's listened, or if people have read the written version on the website, hopefully everyone is looking forward to it just as much as I am.
If you're listening to this out there, I love you. Thank you for listening to the Writing Spartan and giving us your time of day to listen to us ramble.
If you're reading this right now in the written version, all I want to say is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Have fun writing that one up.
Make sure you get the part where he stumbles there as well.
Well,
yeah,
luckily, I don't write everything word for word. I just take the answers to the questions. It's a shortened version, so it's not going to make it in.
Can we do those questions again, please?
But yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this Q&A and listening to the process of what making a mod is like, and the challenges that come with it and the joys that come with it. And I really appreciate you both taking the time to come and speak to me about the mod, and hopefully that we can get some people playtesting it and get it more known about. That's the goal. So
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It was good being here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us and giving us your time of day.
Yes. No problem at all. I always enjoy talking to anyone in the Halo community, especially those who like to create stuff. So it's more than a pleasure. So yeah, we'll call it there. Otherwise, we'll be thanking each other all night and day. Thanks everyone who came to listen to this Q&A. I know it's been a bit of a different one. We're not having a one-on-one Q&A for a change. So it's definitely been a learning experience for me as well. But yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for everyone who came to listen. And if you've just found the video from the website, thanks for giving the written version a read as well. If you want to find more stuff like this, well, preferably check out the website, which is halospotlight.com. But you're probably on YouTube already, on Halo Spotlight's YouTube, so be sure to leave us a subscribe to see more awesome Q&As, and check out the other Q&As we've got as well. If you want to suggest any submissions to me, you can send me a message over on Twitter, which is writing_Spartan. And yeah, all the links to all the places that we've talked about, all the different people we've talked about, will be in the description below. And yeah, thanks everyone again, and goodbye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Credits.